What's up, everybody? This is Julie and Kathleen with another episode of my favorite episode of.
Today, we've got a very special guest, friend of the pod,
Biggest fan.
best friend of me, Katrina. What's up? There it is. That's the intro. Today, okay, she is doing.
She hasn't shut up, but now that we're recording, she's like,
Season 3, episode 2 of Friends. The one where no one is ready. Nobody is ready. No one is ready.
Nobody.
Nobody.
I don't know.
No one's ready.
Nobody.
Katrina, how do you feel?
I'm excited. I don't know how this works. Like, are you guys have questions? I love how I say I don't know how this works. I listen to every episode.
Okay,
You're
tell
doing
the story about the Haunting of Hill House on your watch.
Okay, so the Haunting of Hill House. And when I say I listen to every single episode of this podcast, I listen to every single episode multiple times. So the Haunting of Hill House, I've probably listened to maybe close to 10 times.
And why is that?
Because I'm obsessed with you and it's an amazing show.
I mean, your watch thing.
Oh, so randomly I would just be driving and my Apple Watch would give me a notification. And for some reason, it was the Haunting of Hill House middle episode of the podcast. Every single time, probably once a week, it would come up on my Apple Watch. Like,
It would
Haunting
just
of Hill House.
start them by the middle of the episode.
Yes,
Just replay.
and I would like look down at my Apple Watch and be like, what the? Okay, fine. I'll listen to it again.
If you insist.
Yes.
This is the first episode I have not done any homework on because this is Julie's top show as well
It
as
is.
Katrina. And so me and Katrina met in college, and when I met her, this was like one of the first things I knew about her is that she was like fucking Friends obsessed.
I was like that loser who had a Friends poster in her college
Right,
dorm.
which is actually pretty cool. I had like a keep calm and carry on poster, so you could like see how that would be
it's
embarrassing
worse.
for me now.
Who was it? Audrey Hepburn. Like people who have.
Okay, that's Diana. Shout out Di. I'm like, no Audrey Hepburn posters, please.
No, but she made a good. Yeah, you're right.
Audrey Hepburn posters, we can't.
Yeah.
We can't do that.
Yeah.
What posters did you have?
I had Bob Marley smoking weed.
Did you really at Kutztown? You went and bought that?
Yeah, I was like, I'm a stoner.
Were you?
No.
I didn't think so.
You got to get in with the crowd. You're like,
It's
yeah,
true.
I know
You're like,
Bob.
I'm reinventing myself.
And I think I had like Rihanna and like Mac Miller, like weird. Like I don't know who I am. I think I was just trying to find myself, and
And then
I
you were
really
like,
wanted
no,
like.
I'm not
did you
going
find
here
yourself?
anymore.
No, I needed like a Hannah
She left.
Montana poster in my college dorm.
That would have gotten the crew we wanted. Hannah Montana, not
Like-
fucking Bob Marley. My roommate Sarah used to be like, when we
I don't
became
remember your
friends,
room.
she was like, that's because we didn't become friends
Oh
until
yeah,
second semester.
Sprint. Yeah,
And
sure,
I
sure.
hid in my room. I was like, oh, so antisocial. But my roommate was like, this is the worst poster there ever was. Like, I was like, you're so right. Why would I ever get this
Kath,
poster?
I'm shocked that was.
Yeah, what was it?
That
Keep
was me
calm
trying to be keep
and
calm and carry on. It's like the British, like
No, I've seen it.
with the crown. I don't even know
Yeah,
like what
yeah.
I'm
that.
surprised you
fuck-
had that.
It's super lame.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
Should have had a screen poster. That would have shown
That
me
would have
the
been
colors.
fitting.
I think I might have. Well, I had that. Remember my Patrick Dempsey poster from?
And your Nicolas Cage.
That is on brand. I had a big
Ew.
National Treasure poster that was
Yeah.
gigantic on my wall.
No,
That
the
is
Patrick Dempsey one was good too. What keeps you together? Or
Yeah, who keeps you
who
together?
keep?
Anyway, friends.
So did you guys watch this episode?
Of course,
Yeah.
we did.
Well, I
That's-
don't know how
we
I
have
the
to.
only job that we have is to watch the episode.
Yeah. Well, everyone I feel like watching, and if not, you shouldn't even be watching. Oh my gosh. Everyone knows what Friends is, right?
Yeah.
So that's just like an
Why don't you
obvious-
tell us about it? What's Friends?
No.
Yeah. Tell us.
Tell the ones that
For the
don't
people
know.
who
For
don't
all
know.
the
For the
fans
people
out
in the
there who have
back.
never seen the best 90s sitcom ever, Friends, it takes place in New York City, 6 best friends, early 20s when it starts, and just the entire show takes place. That's basically it. It's just the 6 best friends living in New York City. That's it.
in
Yeah.
like same apartment complex for the most part, and it's
Yes.
just
Before
fantastic.
we get into it, do you think it's the best sitcom of all time or best 90s sitcom?
Best 90s. I think that's a really hard argument to make nowadays.
I think all sitcoms with a laugh track versus non-laugh track cannot be compared
Agreed.
at all.
Yes.
Me and my friends like had this insane How I Met Your Mother versus Parks and Rec conversation, and I was like, I just don't think you can compare the two.
So, and also, Friends is without a doubt one of the most successful of all time.
For sure.
I think it's subjective to say best.
Weren't they making $1 million an episode by the last season? Hear those notes?
Yeah.
Paper notes. I love to see
And I have
it.
a whole thing about that, like how they negotiated their contracts. Yeah.
Ooh, I can't wait to hear about it.
The last season, they all made $1 million an episode.
That
Dude,
is
insane.
Insane.
Okay.
Insane.
$22K an episode when they started, which
How
is
many
still insane.
Questions for friends. I have questions that I'm thinking of on the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
How much improvisation is involved? Do you know about that?
Okay. Yes, good question. Not so much. So there's obviously a script that they follow. However, one thing that I love, I mean, there's so many things I love about the show, but one thing is they were all such good friends in real life. And I think it was Courtney Cox was on maybe Cheers and that's probably wrong. She was on some sort of sitcom before they started filming Friends. And she said to them, we need to all help each other out. Like if we're going to be successful, we can't take it personally. So they all helped each other with certain things. So I think it's not improvised, but I think as the 6 of them together helped each other with what would be best for, the audience.
I feel like, I don't know. I was watching this today and I haven't seen Friends in a while, but I was like, how much of this is improv and how many takes do they do? Because this one was so interesting because it was all in that one room. They never left the room. So like I wonder how much of this was like one long take and others were, I don't know.
Well, and I know I've watched bloopers too where they've showed it's obviously in front of a live audience. So they tried out different jokes to see which one kind of
landed best.
Yeah.
Julia, who's your favorite Friends character?
Oh my God, it's tough.
We'll do one girl, one boy.
So you have favorites for different reasons. So like
Sure.
I think Phoebe is the funniest girl, 100%. Like the shit that Phoebe says is so funny to me. Like even stupid stuff where I'm like dying laughing. Boy wise, I'd probably say Joey makes me laugh the most. But like it's hard to say because like they're all funny in their own ways. Like there are some episodes where like I can easily be like Ross takes the cake. He's the funniest in this episode. Like 100%.
Sure.
And like we'll get into this, but producer Matt texted us asking if we consider Ross as funny or whiny.
Ooh, love that question.
And it definitely goes both ways for me. Like there's definitely times where I'm like, fucking Ross, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And then there's times where Ross is just so off the walls and it's like hilarious. Like, he just does the stupidest stuff. Like
his life is a series of unfortunate events.
So
which is
unfortunate.
Hilarious.
Yes.
I'm on the side of he's annoying.
Yeah.
I think it's mostly because I do not believe that someone that looks like Jennifer Aniston would ever go for someone who looks like whatever his name is in real life that I can't
But
think.
that's part
David
of the joke,
Schwimmer.
right?
Fucking Robert
It's like
Kardashian.
He like loved her.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
You've never seen him. Like after Friends, you don't see him. And I was just thinking of like, oh, well, he made $1 million an episode in the last season. And then all of a sudden he's in the remake of like the O.J. Simpson thing. And he
That's a
plays Rob
great
Kardashian.
series.
I know that was so good.
I'm like, how the fuck did he land that role?
I mean, he's like a really good. Has he been in anything?
He
since in
directs
between?
a lot now.
Oh, there you go. I think that's
He's a director now?
Yeah, he directs
the
a ton.
natural progression of an actor. I think once you do something. How many seasons is Friends? 10. I think he's whiny. He's definitely funny, but so if I'm gonna answer the question, I would say Phoebe as well. Except Courtney Cox like lives in my heart because she's Gail Weathers.
You remind me of her.
Wow, I wasn't expecting you to say. I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, I just love her to death. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
I think all the girls are great.
Oh yeah, they're amazing.
Chandler is who I would kiss big time. Chandler is so goofy and cute.
So you are attracted to Chandler, or is he your favorite?
I think he's my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, he's my favorite guy for sure.
Yeah.
Chandler's my favorite guy for sure. I think favorite girl's Rachel. Phoebe is I totally agree, Julie. She's the funniest girl, I think. But Rachel, there's some parts where I think it's easier to relate to her as far as like relationships. I don't know.
This episode for sure.
Oh
Not
my God.
Jennifer, not Rachel. No. She's being such a bitch in this one.
I know. I
feel so bad. The fat
All
thing
of
is such
them.
a. Do you think they were like tossing around like what should be in this cup? What should be in this cup of fat, like fat? I thought there was like bacon grease, and they're like there's like chicken bits.
Yeah. Well, actually, that was one thing I was curious about for someone who wasn't a Friends fan. Like, do you know anything about their professions? So, were you confused why there was fat in the fridge?
I know she's a chef.
Okay, that was my.
I know.
Yeah.
I watch. I've seen a million Friends episodes, just not in a row. And I know he's a paleontologist because they make so many like dinosaur jokes.
Oh my God,
I love the joke where they're like,
"You might be the first one."
Yeah, that one. You might be the first one. I was like, hilarious. It's good. And this was a great episode. I really like. So Ask her the question.
As being another Friends fan, I was interested as to why you picked this specific episode.
Oh, yes. Great question. Because this took a very long time.
Because there's so many.
There are so many.
Yeah.
And I knew, okay, so this episode, for people who don't know, it just takes place in Monica's apartment. They do not leave that apartment, and it's only the 6 of them. There's no guest stars. So I knew that about Friends, that they did like one per season. And it's called a bottleneck episode, right? And they're obviously trying to save money for next week's episode. So this was early on in the series. I knew Friends had a lot of bottleneck episodes, and I love those ones. I think that is just like the best comedy is when it's just the 6 of them. So I knew when I was coming on the podcast, I had to pick one of those episodes where it's just the 6 of them. I didn't want to talk about guest stars, like just the 6 of them. Fun fact, the first Friends episode I ever saw was the series finale.
Wow.
That was the first episode.
When was that?
When it was on live television. Oh my gosh. Maybe beginning of high school. My mom was watching it. It was the first episode my sister and I ever saw.
Sad episode.
And I had
so
no
sad.
idea about anything else. So I was like, what is going on? Then the next episode we watched really hooked us onto the series was this episode. The one where no one's ready.
Sure.
And I didn't really know the background of the characters, and I just loved it that it was just them in their apartment. There's so much different like friendship dynamics in it. It's just awesome. So, and I also think it's early on where you have the race. What?
Keep that.
That was Rachel and Ross combined.
Oh my God.
You have the Rachel and Ross together. Monica and Richard just broke up. Like, I didn't want to pick anything when I don't know. I love this episode. I think it's early on. It's hilarious. That's why I picked it.
So basically, the premise of the episode is Ross is like all dressed up in a tux. He's going to give a speech or some like paleontology thing. He's getting an award, I assume. And because at first I was like, where the fuck are they going? One of
they're going to
Ross's
some
many
benefit.
weddings.
Yeah.
Like, where the fuck are they going?
Yeah.
Let me just tell you that every stress dream I ever had is this episode. So I am fully on Ross's team where I'm like, why is nobody getting ready? All my stress dreams are I'm at my softball game and for some reason I'm up to bat and my cleats aren't on and I'm like trying to get my cleats, but then someone's like, you gotta like blah blah blah, and I'm like can't find my helmet and like I can't get the cleats on my feet, or like I gotta go to a wedding but nothing is in the house and I'm like, where the fuck? So I truly, this episode kind of gave me a little bit of anxiety.
No, they're horrible. They just like
They're so
mean.
They could not give a single shit about this event. Like
Literally,
100%.
the Chandler Joey chair thing is
Oh my
like
God.
so classic.
Yeah.
I
and then
loved
the
that
like
bit.
ending of like the foreshadow where the guy steals Chandler's seat at the table. Did you watch the last scene?
Oh,
Is in the coffee house. Is that like
Is it post credits? I didn't see that.
They're at Ross's event and Chandler gets up and goes to the bathroom and a guy comes.
yeah.
Did I miss? a
No,
whole
it's
scene?
probably an added one, which I don't even watch because again, it's not the 6 of them.
That's true. You probably didn't watch
okay.
it.
So where did you watch?
Amazon
You bought it?
for $1.
Me as well. $1.99.
Me too.
I'm like, I don't need HD. Give me SD.
Me too. Me too. It's like more buying options. No.
The cheaper one. Where is the cheapest
Yeah,
one?
exactly. It's old school anyway.
Yeah.
HD's not going to help it out.
Exactly. They're at his event and a guy, like a scientist or whatever, sits down and starts talking to Ross and Chandler gets up. Like comes back to the table and the guy's like, and he's like, you're in my seat. And the guy's like, well, you got up. And it's just like, that's like how it ends.
Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah.
like a little bit. It's funny that they would even bother to do that. Like put a whole set together.
Exactly. Was it worth it? Probably not.
So Friends is set in the 3 different apartment, and then what's the coffee shop called?
Central Park.
So it's 3 different apartments, right? It's like the boys' apartment, and then there's that left apartment, and then the one we were in this episode.
What are you talking about? Left
No,
apartment. The left apartment's the boys. The one we're in this is Monica and Rachel's.
Okay, so I'm thinking the boys where they have like the 2 chairs, and the kitchen is when you first
That's
walk.
the boys.
That's the boys.
That's the boys.
Yeah.
Then we're in this one, but there's one that's like different.
So Ross has an
Ross,
episode
yeah.
across the street eventually. Phoebe has one too that her and
Oh.
Rachel live together in.
Maybe that's it.
Oh
And
my
Rachel has
God,
a kid at that point, maybe.
Yeah. I think that's when Rachel and when Emma's born. Rachel and
Yes,
Ross have a
that's
baby.
exactly what it is.
And
Rachel lives
living
with
together.
Joey. God, it's so good.
Yeah,
Actually,
they all live.
Yeah, they all live, and I think all of them eventually live in Chandler and Monica's. Like, it's just so. Actually, one episode I was going to pick. Oh my gosh, is the one where they fight over the apartment.
Oh, yeah.
I think that is
Wait,
just
so that's one of my favorite
hilarious.
Phoebe things. So in that, not that we're talking about that episode,
Go
but
ahead, who
like,
cares? I feel like you pick one Friends.
You
I
can
know
just talk
it's
about
so
them
hard.
all.
Yeah.
but Phoebe like makes up a game and she gives them like points and she's like, all right, the word is tree, and like they've all guessed something, and then she's like, the term I was looking for is leafy. Oh my god, it's so
like something
funny.
no one would ever guess.
Yes, just like ridiculous.
And like she's just like making up a point system. Like Rachel's like green, and they're like, she's like 2 points, and then like someone's like trunk, and she's like 5 points. Like it's like just makes no fucking sense.
They needed that like outlandish character who's just doing stupid stuff. I just so happened that like 2 days ago I watched whatever tour it was. I guess it was 1989, Taylor's 1989 tour, where she was bringing up all those celebs and she brought up Phoebe, or she brought up
it's for Smelly Cat.
Smelly Cat. Her and Easy A is one of my favorite.
Lisa Kudrow's great. I mean, I think she's just so underrated.
Do you guys watch Easy A?
Yeah.
I always like quote this part that nobody ever knows what I'm saying, but she's like, "Who would you believe? Who would you believe?" Like, but it's just to Emma Stone, and it's just like a stupid scene, but I say it all the time and nobody ever gets it. So this is me putting it out in the world.
We get it.
Please get it once I put it back into the world at a later date.
We get it. So this episode is like all over the place for the characters. So let's go through. We obviously know Ross has this event to go to. So that's Ross. All Ross cares about is getting there on time, which, like Kathleen said, we are on Team Ross for this episode because being late stresses me the fuck out.
Yes.
Even though I'm late for the podcast all the time, but other important things, they stress me out.
She's too busy watching the episode up until the second we have to record.
When did you watch this, or did you even not watch it?
No, I did watch it. I watched it at like
Katrina, we watched
4.
it.
I was
We
like,
promise.
I didn't think Kathleen did. I was like, are you even prepared for my episode?
She came over and she was like, "Did you watch it?" I was like,
do you have questions for me?
Kathleen's like, no, I'm just winging it.
I was gonna watch it again, and then I was like, you know what?
I did watch it twice actually, but like not all the way through the second time because I felt like I didn't really absorb the beginning. I was more like half-assed paying attention. I get distracted too easily.
Boy,
Preach.
does she.
Preach.
So,
It's fine.
Yeah, so that's why I rewatched the beginning. But yeah, so Ross has this event to go to. So walk us through what all the other characters are doing because everyone seems to have something else going on where they just do not give a flying fuck about Ross's event.
Yes. Which is hilarious because it's so Ross. They don't give a shit about his anything.
Makes me sad.
I know his job later on in the series, he gets this conference and he's talking about it and he's like, will you guys come? And all of them are like, oh yeah, I'm sick in the future. And he's like, it's in Barbados. And they're like, oh, we'll be there, Ross.
Is there an episode of that?
Oh yeah, the one in Barbados.
Is that when she has cornrows?
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Amazing.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's so good. So good.
I've seen that one.
It's so good.
She's you when she's playing ping pong.
I don't even remember, but I'm gonna agree with you. Is that bad?
She's just like so aggressive
Really
about
competitive,
losing. Yeah.
But okay, back to this episode. So it starts with Ross coming in, like all suited up, ready to go. The only people in there are Joey and Chandler to start. Phoebe comes in all dressed up, ready to go. Rachel comes out of the bathroom, hair done, which he makes a comment about like, oh, you're almost ready. And she's like, oh, I have until I find out, or I need to find something to wear.
I like the bit of him being like, okay, that's only going to take you like 6 to 8 minutes. Like he's saying exact minutes.
Yes.
And she's like, yes, as soon as I figure out what I'm going to wear.
Or like, my calves look fat.
Yeah. Okay. And then
Monica comes home from work or something, just late. So they're all have like 20 something minutes to get ready. No one's doing anything.
I think the Monica and Richard bit's my favorite because I think I'm just feeling really dramatic lately and I'm like, I feel this, but I also think it's the most improbable. Like I don't think you could call into somebody's voicemail and know their code and call in.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think that just like dates the show. I wouldn't know how to do that.
You absolutely can.
You could call into somebody else's phone and if you know their...
You hit star and then you type in their
I
password.
do remember people being like, oh, can I check your messages on your phone? But I thought that was like a whole like different thing.
How cringeworthy when she changes the voicemail.
Oh my god,
that's the best. Then she
goes.
Goes. Like, could you imagine just being like, "I guess I'll leave now," and that's just his voicemail? Why did they break up?
He didn't want kids because he was a grandfather.
Yeah,
because he was like 60.
Yeah,
what's his name?
I love
Is that
Richard.
Tom Selleck?
Yes,
is that why
Richard
we were talking?
Amazing.
What a weird thing.
Well, it made me that picture in your house looks like Tom Selleck.
I know
that you drew.
I drew a picture of the guy from Young and the Restless for my mom, and he looks like Tom Selleck.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Yeah. Monica's depressed because they just broke up. So I like
the idea of her just like coming back in and out and just like Ross thinks she's gonna come out dressed and she's just like ranting about the breakup.
It's
like
so great.
Yeah.
It's not so great. I just mean like, oh my God, I love that. Monica is and my sister and I actually got an argument about this because I was like, Monica is the glue that holds this friend group together. And I feel like in most episodes, they all have their own issues, and obviously she does too, but Monica is always just the voice of reason. And I loved that this one is just like...
She can't be talked down.
And she's just being crazy, and it's so Monica, and it's great.
Yeah. Rachel is being so selfish the entire time.
Yeah, but that's Rachel. In the beginning, that is so
Okay, this
Rachel.
is season 3.
Yeah. I know, but she's still kind of bratty. She doesn't like get on her own until... Honestly, I feel like until her and Ross break up, that Rachel is way more independent.
Yeah.
Aren't there some sort of inconsistencies with whether or not, like, so Ross and Monica are siblings, so they've always known Rachel, but I think, isn't there some weird inconsistencies of how Rachel joined the group, and in like the pilot, how nobody really knows who she is, but then there's flashback episodes of them at prom?
Yeah, so they, again, like, I feel like when they wrote the show, they didn't know how famous it was going to be, obviously, so they didn't take into consideration all these plot holes. So Rachel and Monica grew up together, best friends in high school, which if you know their characters, they wouldn't have been friends.
Sure.
Rachel was like, they always say this, cheerleader, like prom queen. Monica she just wasn't.
And there's the bit where Monica is like 100 pounds
exactly
heavier.
yeah, and Ross was the dorky older brother, but they were best friends their whole life. Chandler and Ross were college roommates. They meet Joey and Phoebe later on, but obviously Ross has this huge crush on Rachel. What was your initial question?
Well, there's like some inconsistencies of where they met. I don't know. This is just me like reading things online.
They met. Went to high school together. Like they grew up together, basically.
And they do say that in the very first episode, don't they?
I don't mind when a show decides that, okay, we didn't know we were going this long. We're fucking making plot holes. We don't care. Like, I like that, like, to make the decision of where you want it to go versus something where it's like, okay, we can't do that because that doesn't track. Like,
yes.
Like, kind of like How I Met Your Mother. When we did the How I Met Your Mother episode, they were basically like, I don't even know if this is the right term, pigeonholed.
Oh, yeah.
Because they recorded all those, like, the kids talking in the beginning, David Henry and whatever, for the whole way out. So they decided who the mom was in the beginning, when it's like, we need to change course and maybe make some inconsistency
absolutely.
For a better show.
Yeah.
We just went on a crazy tangent. We have no idea where we were, so we're going to start from here on out. Hit us with some fun facts. I feel like Katrina has good fun facts.
I have so many facts, but you guys should ask more questions. Like, I know there's so many Friends fans out there, right? But she's the biggest one. And honestly, I know that to be true in my heart. Like, it's not even just like I know every character and the behind the scenes stuff. It's like I know every word to all 236 episodes.
Well, let me just preface this with, I believe her because I feel the same way about myself for Grey's Anatomy, and she is right up there with me with that show, and she's not calling me and her go back and forth as one of my like worthy opponents for Grey's Anatomy.
Oh, so it's so funny you say that, because I still think you're a little above me in that.
Like, right, of course I am.
Yes.
But I just mean, like, in a world where,
like, I can hold my own in a conversation about Grey's Anatomy.
1,000%. Yes. And I value your opinion very much so.
Yes, yours as well.
There's only a few people for Grey's that I value opinions for.
Interesting. Who else?
Kelly O'Dell is
you've
one
said
of them,
that,
big time. I have a bunch, but I mean, maybe like 5 fully.
Yes.
I'm not going to name drop them all. But Kelly O'Dell is like the one I've been doing for my entire life.
And I have been begging to come on this podcast forever. I don't watch TV. I'm not a good TV watcher. I try so hard to try new episodes. Even after I've listened to episodes of this, I'm like, I'm going to watch a show. It just never happens.
Julie does the same thing.
Julie, I can't. I don't know. I just like, I get distracted, whatever. But there's some shows where I'm just like, they'll be with me forever. I can't wait to introduce my kids to them. And Friends is one of them. They're just, aside from being a feel-good show, like Friends is just so relatable. And I think the time period it takes place in, I think I always said this to you too, Kathleen, in college, like it used to be my dream.
I know exactly what you're going to say. I was going to bring it up.
After Penn State or college, how fun would have been to move to New York City, knowing no one, you're broke as anything, and living with just your 5 best friends. And you're figuring shit out along the way. And I always said that, like, that would just be amazing. And I think that's why I just loved Friends so much, is you relate to all the characters, like Julie said, in certain ways. There's obviously episodes that focus on certain characters, but they're all so quirky and weird, and they're all annoying in their own way, but there's certain episodes where it's like, wow, I love Joey. I want to be friends with them. And that's how you Truly.
A good sitcom
It's
does
so
that.
good.
You've said that before.
It's
a good
so
sitcom makes
good.
you want to be friends with them, makes you want to live in those apartments.
Yeah, it's just like one of the main reasons I love Friends so much. I just think I always wanted to do exactly what they did. And aside from whatever you were just saying, Kathleen, but like the cast makes it, my God, they nailed it with that cast. I don't know how they did it. Like Friends wouldn't have been the same if they had gotten anyone else to play those characters. I was reading they wanted to get like Kathy Griffin or Ellen DeGeneres to play Phoebe.
Yeah, I saw that.
Obviously, I think everyone knows this, but like Monica originally auditioned for Rachel and they were like super against her going for Monica, but it all worked out. So they're so good. It's so good.
When did this air?
1994. 2004 is when it ended.
Are these all fresh faces when this show aired, or were they on anything else?
Yes and no. Jennifer Aniston, obviously Rachel, was fresh. Matt LeBlanc didn't have anything. Lisa Kudrow was on Mad About You, which is she was Ursula, just a waitress, and it ends up being Phoebe's twin sister and friend. So they kind of keep.
Ooh, it's in the same universe.
Mm-hmm. But fun fact also, Phoebe made a guest appearance on Frasier and Jim Burrows was the director of Frasier and fired her. So Lisa Kudrow was really nervous to audition for Friends because James Burrow was the director of Friends.
Why'd they fire her on the original and then
on Frasier? On Frasier was a different show. I don't know.
Right.
Lisa Kudrow's character wasn't good or they just didn't like it. So she was like, they were like, you're out. And then when she auditioned for Friends, James Burrow was like, you're the best, Phoebe. Courtney Cox was definitely the most well-known. So they knew her going into it, which again, they kind of took her lead when she said, we need to be a little bit like either Cheers or Seinfeld, whatever she was on. And she was like, we need to give each other feedback pretty much. Like
feedback
this is
just support where you can tell when a cast loves each other or when they're like, there's animosity behind
absolutely.
the scenes.
And so the character Ross was basically written with David Schwimmer in mind. So he had been known beforehand. So Ross was the easiest to cast. He was the first one.
That's so interesting to me because I feel like everyone would say he's the least favorite of the. How could Ross possibly be?
It was going to be an entire show. It was going to be starring 4 characters: Ross, Rachel, Monica, and Joey. Monica and Joey were going to be the love interest, and Chandler and Phoebe were written in as just secondary comedic relief characters. Which I love that. Then these are where like all the fun facts, which is like amazing. When they first all got casted and they did the first table read, David Schwimmer, who plays Ross, it was written for him. So he was going to be the main character. All these other characters were going to be just his secondary characters. It was going to be about Ross's life, truly.
This show would not have worked as well without an ensemble. Just all 6 are exactly the same. Wait, would you say that all 6 are exactly the same on the call sheet? Like who's number 1, who's number 6?
Oh no, I agree. They're all the same. And I read something too. So I read this book. It was called The One About Friends, and it's just all the behind the scenes stuff on it. And the writers in the writer room used to make a pie chart to make sure that each character had the same amount of jokes.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want one character to be,
more
overpowering.
heavy than the other, yeah.
And even all 6 characters are in every single episode. So which was funny.
Whoa, that's really rare.
I watched this episode with my sister because she was helping me with this because she's just as big as a fan. And she said, like, are you sure that they're all in every episode? And I was like, yes. And the person, can you guys guess? Who do you think was in the next amount of, besides the 6 characters?
Is it big of a drop? Is it a huge drop? What's the drop? Tell me. Like if, say there's
236 episodes.
Okay, so give me the number.
Oh wait, would it be the guy from Central Perk?
Gunther.
Yeah.
Gunther. And he
nice.
was even like, not even an actor. He was like a barista. That's how he got the job.
Wow. Good for Gunther.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, he is in almost every single episode. They're always there.
Literally.
I read it. That's so interesting because I just read an article that was the best non-actor actor. So basically Boki from Grey's Anatomy. But Gunther wasn't on the list. So maybe he was just like a low key. But it was basically just people that they accidentally stumbled into a role.
Oh, Kath, I know this is a little off topic, but I've been meaning to ask you and I haven't texted you. What is that actress? She wrote a book saying, you'll know me from this, but I'm never a main character.
Fuck you. I don't remember the name.
So good.
The book is called I Don't Know What You Know Me From. Judy Greer. Shit. I read her whole book and couldn't think of her name.
I want to ask.
Damn it.
She is in a lot. She does a
Yeah.
lot.
She's great. I mean, and she's excellent. And she's like, I made a career out of being the supporting character. And people, but the whole point is people come and go. Like someone who was a lead in 3 big movies and then you never see them again.
Yes.
Versus someone who's the supporting main character for 15 movies. Gunther wrote that.
Yeah.
I don't know what you know me from. Just like, it's Friends. I'm only in Friends.
Yes. Gunther is so deserving. Poor Gunther.
That is a good fun fact.
I know. I'm trying to think of just others. I mean, there's so many like guest characters on this show. I mean, Friends is amazing. It really is.
Is that Central Perk pop-up always in New York, or was that just like a short-lived thing?
Oh my God. You know what's actually funny? And I think I wrote this in some sort of my 3-page of notes, obviously back to the book that I read about all the behind the scenes. So Marta Kaufman and David Crane were the writers and producers of the show. When they were deciding the sets of the show, they said NBC was fighting with them so much, and we were like, make it a diner like Seinfeld, like everyone knows diners. Why are you doing a coffee house? And this was before Starbucks was big. This was before coffee houses were like a fad almost. You know, now everyone, I like going to coffee houses to, I don't know, be hipster. But Friends was, I think, and I would argue that it's what made coffee houses more of a desirable place. And they do an episode where it's like the one that could have been. And it basically goes back in time of Friends and how they all met. And if different characters hooked up, it's like Ross and Phoebe get together. It's hilarious.
I love an alternate universe episode. If and Then, Grey's Anatomy.
Oh my God, it's so hilarious. Yes. And in the episode, they go to the bar, and it's Central Perk, but a bar, and it's closing down. And one of them, I think it's Chandler or someone, is like, well, now where are we going to hang out? And it's just funny because it's like they always hang out at this coffee house.
Does that episode end in exactly how it is now? Like the premise of the alternate universe is
Kathleen.
What's meant to be will be, fate will step in.
Like how at the end of Grey's Anatomy, Callie's kind of hitting on Arizona even though she's married to Owen. Yes, because at the end of that episode of Friends, Rachel is obviously, she's like a rich brat who comes in, but it ends with her daydreaming in the car of something about what Ross said or something.
Right. And those episodes always end in like
it's like, oh wait,
this is an alternate universe, but what's meant to be will be.
Exactly.
Anyway, back to his Friends.
Okay, so Kathleen, what were your takeaways from the episode? Or I knew going on to this, it was going to be really hard to like stick with just one episode of Friends.
I have seen a lot of them, so I think my original thoughts were, okay, where the fuck are they going? Then I was like, okay, Monica just broke up with Richard, who I knew who it was, but I'm like, but why? So I just had more of, okay, where are we in the realm of, I understand the gist of the entire show. I've seen enough episodes, but mine was more like, all right, where the frig are we right now? I don't really understand any of it, but I mean, I just liked it. I don't really have any takeaways. I just love it. It's interesting to see, like, I obviously know where they all end up, so it's funny to see Chandler not even giving a shit about Monica really at the time. Right? You know what I mean? So it's, how do they even get together? Julie, you say it.
Ooh, well, they end up having sex at Ross's wedding. Drunk.
Which one? Like, so
Ross marries
which Ross, one? Yeah. What a valid question.
Here's what I think.
He married, it's Emily, him and Emily, right? Their wedding.
He marries a girl who ends up marrying another girl and having twins. Did I just make that up? Twins?
No,
it's Ben. It's Cole Sprouse.
Ben, Cole Sprouse and Dylan. Okay. So then, but it's not Ross's. It is Ross's kid. Like, does he donate his sperm?
No. She gets, she's pregnant when she leaves.
Okay.
She leaves him and then she ends up pregnant.
I'm nailing this.
Yes.
So that's the first marriage. So they bang after which wedding? That one?
So no. So then he meets, Ross dates 1,000 fucking people.
True.
But then he meets this girl Emily, because I think
Emily
Julie
is by far the worst. I actually
Julie's
love
in between,
Julie.
Isn't she? It's Julie and then Emily.
Yeah, Julie's like probably one of the first people Ross dates, when it's right after Rachel realizes that Ross is in love with her, and Julie's so sweet and so amazing, but obviously was never going to work out.
Yeah.
Emily comes a little bit later. Season 5, I think. Emily's the worst. She's from London.
Worst.
Literally the worst.
So Emily is the one where he's like, I, Ross, take thee, Rachel.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
My dad was just watching that the other day and mouthing the words. Like, I can hear him like being like,
it's so good. Like, Phoebe's on the phone because she's pregnant at the time in America.
She's the twins. Triplets.
Yes, triplets with her son, with her brother.
With her brother.
With her brother. It's her brother's triplets. She's carrying them. Which,
out.
another fun fact, Lisa Kudrow was pregnant in real life, and they were like, we don't want to be one of those other shows that just writes in a pregnancy. Or no, sorry, they didn't want to be one of those shows that tries to hide a pregnancy, so we'll write it into the script. Turned out that every episode that they filmed wasn't matching up with actual Lisa Kudrow's pregnancy, so there was only one episode where it was her real stomach. It was all...
Yeah. It's like...
They tried and it was still just...
When Kerry Washington was pregnant on Scandal, they just put like lamps in front of her.
Yeah.
Like
they did that in The Office
lamps.
too when Angela's
You can only see like
pregnant.
half of her face when she's talking.
Oh, that's
I will say I don't have a lot of critiques about Friends because it makes me annoyed when people critique so much like, oh, well, how did they afford living here? And it's like, okay, it was Monica's grandma's, whatever. And again, this goes back to the writers, and I read this book and the writers were like, this was before we knew the show was going to be a hit. We obviously didn't think a massage therapist could afford living in a 1-bedroom apartment in New York City.
Phoebe's the massage therapist?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or like Joey's an actor that never has
Struggling
work.
actor,
Never has work. And that's hilarious between like the dynamic between him and Chandler. Chandler pays for everything, whatever. But one of my things about the show Friends that I didn't like, and I didn't like the storyline of Phoebe giving birth to her brother's kids.
Yeah, it's kind of creepy. I don't like that.
I love when she has them though, and I think it's to Rachel. She's like, "Do you want to know a secret? I'm going to keep one."
I'm gonna keep one.
That's hysterical.
And then it's like she tries to
so
actually
funny.
convince Rachel to go to her brother and be like, "You don't need all of them. Like I can keep one. I can."
And
her
Rachel's
Rachel's
like,
like,
"You're
"You're
secret.
insane.
I can keep one." Is fucking funny.
Oh my god, it's hilarious. But the weird part
I
of
want
that,
to keep one.
the freaking mom from that 70s show is her brother's baby mama.
The mom.
The mom from
Yeah,
that
she's
70s
old.
show.
She's
Yeah,
old, right?
She's old.
Yeah. And the brother is Giovanni something. He's real famous. He's in
Yeah,
Saving
he is.
Private Ryan. Like he's incredible. Yeah.
He's famous.
I feel like I've seen like the most iconic episodes of this show. I've seen the
You've
ones
seen,
where
like,
Rachel gets off the plane. Of
Oh,
course, I've seen the
God,
finale.
it's the best.
Thanksgiving, you've
All
definitely
the
seen.
every
yeah.
Thanksgiving,
Oh,
I
they're
watch
amazing.
the Thanksgiving episodes of
Oh,
Friends.
you have to. You have to.
Unfortunate though that Brad Pitt was in that one though. Like he was a guest star.
Yeah.
But the Reese Witherspoon, Christina Applegate. Like
Yeah.
there's so many good.
We love Christina
I-
Applegate. We are Christina
She-
Applegate stands on
we
this.
Honestly-
love, we love Reese too.
We love
Yeah.
Reese.
I will say a couple of my favorite episodes of Friends are the ones where Rachel's sisters are in it. I think Christina Applegate specifically is a hilarious as Rachel's sister. Like that one where it might be all 6 of them plus one guest star. It's the Thanksgiving episode and they're fighting over if Ross and Rachel died, who would get Emma. That one is so good because Christina Applegate is like, wait a minute, I wouldn't get my niece. And they're like, no,
Is
it
she a
would.
piece of shit?
Oh my God. And they
Yes.
just don't get along. They're like not
Yeah.
close sisters. And she's horrible. And she's like, she keeps calling her Emily. She doesn't even call her by Emma. It's so funny. And the whole episode, it's like, yeah, no, if we died, Chandler and Monica would get our kid. And then they're like, something like, oh, if Monica died, Chandler's like, well, no, then Emma would be mine. And then they're like, well, actually, like it wouldn't have just been Chandler watching the kid. It had to have been
Monica.
with Monica.
and
Yeah,
Chandler.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's kind of sad.
It's just
Yeah.
Chandler being, yeah.
Would he have wanted the kid?
I mean,
Yeah, it probably would just been he would have been shitty by himself. Monica's amazing.
I don't even know if this is true, but I think it makes sense. If you watch like the first couple seasons, Matthew Perry is like disgustingly skinny and it's apparently
like, cracked out.
a big like cokehead. And then like it's interesting watching as it goes on because he gets like sober and you can tell
Yeah,
like
and
his like he
bigger.
like, he like fills out.
How does he end it? Does he end bigger?
Probably in the middle. I mean, he's definitely sober when they end. Again, with a bottleneck episode, one episode specifically is the one where Chandler and Monica get engaged. So one season, I think it's the end of season 5 or 6, they get engaged. The start of the new season is just a bottleneck episode. It's just the 6 of them bouncing around. It's the one where Rachel steals Monica's thunder. So they just get engaged and Rachel and Ross end up kissing. And
Oh,
Monica is
yes.
like, what the heck, Rachel? Why tonight? Like, this is my night of being engaged. You and Ross had to do this. And the one season ends with their engagement, and the next episode is the whole engagement of the Stealing Your Thunder. If you watch the episode where they get engaged, Matthew Perry is probably 30 pounds heavier. And then the season premiere of the next it's supposed to be like, oh, they just got engaged. So it's the same.
And he looks completely different.
They're wearing all the same clothes. It's still celebrating them and their engagement. And he is 30 pounds thinner. And
Oh
it
my
was when he was
God.
going
Oh.
through. No, it's crazy difference between when they got engaged and then the episode they
Ooh.
filmed right after. He's almost scary thin.
Really?
Too
I always
thin,
notice
too
that
thin.
like people are always like tan when they come back to shoot because
Yes.
they went on vacation in between the
Yes.
hiatus and then they come back and they're tan and
He's
then they were born.
so skinny. It's
Yeah.
sad. It's really sad.
Is he okay now?
Yeah, I think
I
so.
think so.
Mhm. At the end of Friends, it's when Jennifer Aniston started to become way more famous than the other Friends. And same with David Schwimmer. It was those two. So that's why I love the fact that as a group, for people who didn't know, and I think we talked about in the beginning of the podcast, they all made $22,000 an episode in season 1. When the show obviously started to get much more famous, they didn't go into every season without negotiating as a group, which I loved.
That's
because
amazing.
I think that's why Friends has been just more successful than other shows at that time.
There's just no resentment between the characters. If we're in the same amount and we have the same amount of jokes and you're making like $500K an episode and I'm making $200K an episode, that's ridiculous.
Yes, and I think
you're gonna be pissed.
And there was such synergy with the group. Like, before Friends filmed, James Burrow, the director, paid for all 6 of them to go to Vegas together as a weekend away, and he was like, you guys need to like actually be friends in real life. If this show's gonna be successful, you guys have to.
That's awesome.
So the 6 of them, and one, I think Jennifer Aniston posted on her Instagram, and her caption was the one before we were famous or something, or the one before Friends.
Yeah, like very, very young.
And Jim Burrows said to them on the plane, just so you know, like, enjoy this trip, because after Friends is filmed, you guys aren't ever going to be the same. And they all make comments about that. Like, they all remember him saying that to them, and they were like, it's true. After the show filmed, their life was never the same. So he was very big on the friends all being friends in real life. And he sent them to Vegas. None of them had any money. They were just like, what's going on? And they became best friends in real life. And I think it's just why it's like,
friendship, baby.
it is. It's such friendship. And that's why it's like, when the show became more and more successful, Jennifer Aniston, obviously, and there was some issues later on in the series. She was trying to get out, which in season...
Of the show?
Yeah, she was just like getting better offers and stuff. So season 10, I don't know what it's called. You would probably know. Filler episodes. It's almost like all flashbacks. Yeah. That was part of Jennifer Aniston's negotiations. Like, fine, I'm going to sign on for season 10, but I don't want to film this many. So they did a lot of recap episodes or flashback episodes.
In it,
so she wouldn't have to film as much.
Oh, so she actually was not in every episode technically, but her face was in every episode?
She was in every one, but it wasn't a new storyline. They did do a lot of filler episodes where they like flashed back or just did like recap of like, oh, this is Ross and, or so like another one is Ross and Emily are getting ready to send their wedding invites out. That whole episode is just Ross and Rachel flashbacks pretty much. So they did a lot of flashback episodes.
See, like, to me, it's like, this is the last season, tough it out and be in it.
I
finish
agree
strong,
completely.
show up in big games.
And to that part, it's like, oh, were you in season 10, Jennifer Aniston? Were you getting a little too...
Yeah.
See, and that frustrates me. But at least, like, I loved that the 6 of them always negotiated together for their contracts. And it was like, we're in this together.
Sure.
Like, I loved that. Loved that. But yeah, towards the end, it definitely...
I agree.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it gets... Yeah.
She was the biggest one, and she still
Totally.
is.
She still is.
Yeah.
But I love that they're all still friends, because they are. It's amazing. They've all,
and for the most part, they're all still pretty famous.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite Friends
episode?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
If you were to have done this, because I know you're a fan.
Well, so they like want me to pick an episode, but I don't think I could pick an episode of my favorite show. But Friends is so hard because like
it is hard.
Every episode of Friends brings me like some sort of joy.
I know.
Like Friends is like a show that I can watch and just I'm happy the whole time I'm watching.
It's got the nostalgia piece to it too, like when you were younger.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's the same thing like Trine said, like the friendship is like, oh my God, I just want to fucking hang out with them. Like they're so like close and like I want to go to that coffee shop and like get a sit on that couch and just like sit there for hours.
I love too. I think a lot of shows obviously just stick with relationships that work, right? So it's Ross and Rachel. Everyone knows about Ross and Rachel, or Rachel and Monica, best friends throughout the whole series. But I love the episodes specifically catered to the friendships that people don't give as much attention. There's one specifically, the one with the cheesecake. It's more so focusing on Chandler and Rachel's relationship. And it's so good because those two characters, obviously they're all best friends, right? But there's not as many episodes with Rachel and Chandler, or the one where Chandler is going to propose to Monica and he's picking out the ring with Phoebe of all things. And she ends up like getting in this little jail in the jewelry shop. And it's so good. Just the little friendships that the one, sorry, I'm just like
it's okay.
spitballing now.
Like, I'm listening to you say
but
this
you
and
know
I'm
what
like,
I mean?
these are the ones I would like too.
Exactly. Because it's like, so obviously Chandler and Ross went to college together. They're best friends. Like everyone knows that. Or Chandler and Joey, they're roommates. But the episodes where each friendship kind of goes off course a little, there's one where where Ross buys a bike for Phoebe because she's never learned how to ride a bike. And I love that. Like, Ross and Phoebe don't get as much attention. Or you learn back in the day, Phoebe as a kid mugged Ross. And Phoebe even, it's amazing because Phoebe goes, Ross, I always feel like an outsider in this group. You all have these long lost connections and this is ours. And Ross is like, it's not the best. It's so good. Like, and I just love those little just friendships that is not what the show is focused on. Like, they do a really good job at strengthening those relationships. So it's not just like at the end of the series, you're like, oh yeah, did Joey and, I don't know, Monica ever be, or were they ever even really that close?
Yeah. And what was it going to be called?
The first was Insomnia Cafe, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And then Friends with Us. And then I think right before they shot the pilot, NBC was like, it needs to just be Friends. Insomnia Cafe.
They probably tested it. And like,
when the writers wrote it, Marta Kaufman and David Crane wrote the script, not even, and they pitched it to NBC. And they didn't even have the first episode written, and they basically just pitched it to NBC as 6 best friends living in New York City. We'll figure it out as we go. And NBC was like,
deal?
Yeah.
Wow.
They sold it.
They must have had some sort of reputation because nobody sells like that.
Definitely. And I think they liked the idea, but NBC pushed back on that there's no older characters because the 6 main characters were in their, early 20s. They were like, we need someone older. So they had written in, his name was Pat the cop, and it was going to be this random cop that just showed up. He was older, would give advice. And apparently they filmed a few episodes and the writers were like, this is brutal. NBC, don't make us do this.
Yeah.
So NBC agreed. And that's why they added in Ross and Monica's parents in the beginning a little more just as adult guidance. I don't even know.
I don't think age representation
Agreed.
is as important as other representation, of course. And I don't know about the representation that was in Friends. I feel like it was pretty white, but now especially like I don't. But age isn't really something I think of besides like with women when you're like these older people are casting 20-year-olds or 30-year-olds, and then they're considering other women like they don't get the big roles because they're aged, even though they're still like beautiful, gorgeous, talented, or even
it's not something that would ever turn me away from a TV show is because of the age of the characters. Yeah. It's something that they were worried about back then. They were like, how can we, this isn't gonna stick. Oh, the only people who are gonna watch this are young people. And obviously, they have Monica dating Tom Selleck. He's older, and the parents do. Oh my God, the parents are so good.
Everybody's 25 to 30 at heart. Like if you're older, you're considering yourself 25.
It's just so good.
It's fine at that point. Yeah, not teenagers. I see it with like teenager-y people, but if they're just adults living in the city,
I think they thought because it was so compared to Seinfeld, and
I could see them completely comparing it to Seinfeld. Different networks or both NBC?
Both NBC.
Okay, then even more
was
so.
Seinfeld James Burrows? Was he the director?
No.
James Burrows did all Will and Grace, like all. I wrote it down.
Love Will and Grace.
Taxi, Cheers, Frasier, Will and Grace. Yeah,
I watched the Will and Grace reboot.
Did you like it?
Loved it. It's the best. Will and Grace is so stupid.
Will and Grace
in
is
a good
so
way.
good.
I love it.
Like
those 3 are amazing.
Oh my God, dude, those
four.
three.
Those 4.
Yeah,
Sorry, 4.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, Karen is the greatest.
I wasn't that crazy about the reboot.
I didn't watch the last season of the reboot, but I watched 2. There's 3, I think, of the reboot.
Yeah.
And I watched 2.
I think I just watched 1 and I was
There's
like,
3 episodes of the
3 seasons of the reboot.
Oh.
I think it's 3 seasons. It's either 2 or 3.
Oh, I thought you were talking about episodes.
Me
I watched
too.
1.
I watched it fully. Like, if there was 3 seasons of the reboot, I watched 2 full ones, and then I fell off on the 3rd. But I thought it was hysterical.
Yeah.
Wait, I have one quote. Can I just read it?
Yeah, end it with a quote.
Oh, really?
Yes, of course.
Love that, guys. Okay, again, it's not my quote. So before I get
dude, she's speaking from the heart right now. She made this up.
No, I'm gonna get sued for libel. It's Kelsey Miller, her book, the one about Friends. She wrote at the very end, and I love this, it's a perfect way to end it. Friends has managed to transcend age, nationality, cultural barriers, and even its own dated, unrelatable flaws. Because underneath it all, it's a show about something truly universal, friendship. It's a show about the transitional period of early adulthood when you and your peers are untethered from family, unattached to partners, and equal parts excited and uncertain about the future. The only sure thing you have is each other.
Oh, love it.
I love that on my favorite episode of.
And with that, we are coming to a close.
That's the episode, baby. Katrina.
Mic drop.
Katrina, I really hope very soon you're going to be on another episode. Like I really hope really very soon.
Honestly, I'm
fingers crossed.
This episode's going to have the most views because of me.
Views.
Or the least.
Nobody's using their eyes for this. They're not watching. They're not viewing. They are listening.
Plays. Let's go with plays.
I would say, what do you call it? What do you call it? I was like, what do you mean?
So no one told you life was gonna be this way. You chose you broke.
Your love life's
DOA. Come on, Joel.
It's like you're always stuck in second gear. When it hasn't been your day, your week, your month, or even your year. But I'll be there for you.
'Cause you're there for me too.
This has been My Favorite Episode Of. My Favorite Episode Of is produced by Matt Kelly as part of the Geekscape Network and hosted by Julie and Kathleen. Check out our show notes for all of our socials and email us at myfavoriteepisodepodcast@gmail.com. Rate, review, and subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting apps, and we'll be back next week with another episode of My Favorite Episode Of.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network. You're listening to the Geekscape Network.